In this week's episode, we sit down with Mary McKenna MBE to discuss her journey from studying fine arts at university to becoming an angel investor and everything else in between. This episode is brought to you by Top Drawer Talent, the supply chain procurement recruitment specialist. Here we go.
Thanks very much for coming in to the podcast today.
Pleasure, Connor. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, very much. But look, who is Mary McKenna, and I suppose how did you get started?
Well, like most people, I guess there is no straight line in where you start and where you end up.
Okay.
I mean, I think careers are can be squiggly journeys, can't they?
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
where you think you're going to do one thing, but you end up doing something different. So I always kind of think of myself as maybe I've had maybe 3 different careers.
Okay.
So I started life as I used to be a finance director.
Okay.
I used to be quite, I was a commercial accountant for many years, and I worked here in Belfast for a high-tech business that had spun out of the university. It was a semiconductor business, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it was venture-backed, and that was a great lesson.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of lessons because I think as well for people that end up being entrepreneurs, it's kind of better if you learn the tricks and you learn the trade on somebody else's money. Okay. So instead of just going straight in and setting up a business immediately as soon as you leave school.
Was finance always something that you wanted to do, like from the time you were in school, or?
No, not really. I mean, I studied fine art at university.
Okay.
But I think I've always been interested in numbers.
Okay.
I think that accountancy is one of the most polarised jobs that there could possibly be.
Yeah.
Because at one end of the scale, you've got the bean counters and the bookkeepers who are always looking back at what's happened so far in the business. And then at the other end of the scale, you've got the strategic accountants who, if you're building a business or you're growing a business, are the ones you really want because they're going to add a lot of value to your company.
Yeah. And in school, did you have someone steering you to go study fine arts, or was that just kind of an area you were passionate about?
No, I actually applied to university to study economics.
Okay.
And when I got there, I realised that there was an art class, and I just switched.
Just switched there and then. Okay. And you grew up in Yorkshire.
Yeah, my parents would never have let me go and study art at university. They'd have had a blue fit, but I just didn't really tell them. I would always say to people, it's a lot easier to seek forgiveness than it is to seek permission for things. So just go ahead and do it, and then figure out later how you're going to square the circle with people.
Okay, yeah, that's very good, solid advice. But once you got through college then, what was your first job, or did you work while you were in college?
I did all the usual things that people do, working in a bar and stuff like that. But I suppose my first proper job was working for a county council.
Okay.
In the office, in an admin job. And that's where I started.
Right.
I think I'm a great believer that nothing that you learn is wasted.
Yeah.
So as you move up through your career, you will find yourself relying on something that you learned 10 years ago or that you did 20 years ago, and you're like, oh yeah, that was actually quite useful.
Okay.
The most interesting thing that I did when I spent 2 years temping in London and just doing a lot of different jobs. Yeah. And that's a great way to test out different career choices to see what it is that you actually like doing. And I think the place that I learnt the most was I used to deal with I used to do the complaints desk for an oil company.
Oh, lovely.
So I was the person that when people put diesel into their car instead of petrol, I was the person that they used to ring. Or when they've been in the car wash and their windscreen wipers got pulled off.
Oh, okay.
I was the person that used to deal with all those calls.
Okay.
But you really, really learn a lot about people working in a job like that.
Yeah, solid customer service skills. And then in school, how did you get on in school, in secondary level school, or primary education? Did you do well? Did you just kind of sail through?
I did well academically. I took my schoolwork very seriously.
Okay.
I got 4 A levels and 11 O levels, so it was always my generation, I suppose. Our parents didn't go to university, so they were really, my parents had moved to Yorkshire from Northern Ireland, and they were really keen on me and my sister having easier lives than they had had.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's you know, I think that's an important.
Was there a bit of pressure on you when you were younger to do well and go to college, or was it just, you know, go and do your best kind of thing?
Yeah, do your best, I think.
Okay, and see where it kind of brings you.
Yeah.
But then, getting your first job then in finance, did you go and do like ACCAs, or were you grandfathered, or how did that kind of work?
Yeah, I studied, I'm a SEMA qualified accountant, so
Okay.
I went, you know, I studied accountancy alongside my job. So
Yeah.
on Friday evenings when the rest of my colleagues were going to the pub, I used to go to tax class.
Can't studying.
Which was always was great fun, you know, because if I had my time over again, I probably would be a tax accountant.
Really,
Because the amount of money that you can make is phenomenal, you know.
Which you're doing quite well anyway.
I'm all right.
But then, I suppose, you were working in the public sector for a while, and then you decided to go and co-found the company Learning Pill, was it? Or
Yeah, actually, I had another business in between with the same co-founder.
Oh, okay.
We had a consultancy business,
Right.
and Learning Pool was a project that had belonged to one of our clients,
yeah,
and they decided that the public sector wasn't the right place for it to sit
Okay.
because it was a commercial project. You know?
okay,
So they invited people to submit bids for it and a business plan for what you would actually do with it. So
all right.
we were the smallest company on the list. The biggest company on that list was British Telecom. So we
Okay.
competed against some of the big,
joints, yeah.
really heavy hitters. But we were the successful buyers, and so we bought that. We actually bought the company from a government agency,
Oh, okay.
and then completely changed it. You know, because the government agency people didn't really know a lot about technology,
Okay.
and they, you know, they just weren't commercial salespeople. So
Right.
we moved it from London to Derry in Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
and Derry's got a university, which was great for us because it meant that young people that were coming out of the university were the people that we recruited. So we just recruited people that had a flexible approach to work and a sunny disposition, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know?
And was there any specific job titles that you were looking for at that stage, like, or did you even know what you wanted to hire, or you just kind of needed people to give them a job? And
We had an in-house tech team, so
Okay.
a lot of that was probably the jobs that people needed, like a computer science degree or something for that.
Yeah.
But even then, like when the new graduates came in, even though they had computer background, the CTO would still spend a lot of time teaching them and coaching them, because university really doesn't really prepare you for the world of work.
Yeah.
You know, I think you learn some stuff, but most of what people learn, I think they learn when they get started with their job. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big disparity, I suppose, thinking you go to college, you come out with all this experience, and in fact that's not the case. But Learning Pool then, what was the purpose behind you going to set up Learning Pool? Like, what kind of, was it just that it was more commercial, or did you see, like, were you passionate about something that Learning Pool did, or?
So Learning Pool is an online learning company.
Yeah.
And on the day that we bought it,
Yeah.
neither of us knew anything at all about e-learning, not one thing.
Okay.
But we saw an opportunity, and the opportunity was, it was at the time when, it was 2006,
Yeah.
ubiquitous broadband was all of a sudden available.
Yeah.
Do you remember those people used to have their training on like DVDs and things like that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know yourself, you would walk into offices back then and you would see a box in the corner full of those things, because the minute that they'd been created,
Yeah.
things changed and they were now out of date. So it was a great way to, what Learning Pool did was it helped people that worked in the public sector. It trained them in all the things that they needed to know to do their jobs.
Okay.
And because it was available in the cloud, you know, people could just do it in their own time, and
Okay.
instead of those days where you spend hours and hours sitting in the classroom listening to somebody teaching you about health and safety, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, e-learning's great because you could just do it at your own speed. And
Yeah. And was it all kind of, did you guys have like set frameworks that people would just follow, or like would, let's say, different sectors upload their own videos and just have them on the cloud, or how did that work?
yeah, so we had a catalogue of material,
Okay.
but it was created in such a way that everybody that was a customer used the same set of tools, so you could take something that somebody else had created and you could just make it into your own.
Okay.
So it was great because it saved the councils loads of money.
Yeah. And did it move then into the commercial space, or did it stay in public sector?
Yeah, the very first commercial customers that we had was the Jury's Hotel Group.
Oh, okay.
Because they decided that they wanted to offer online learning on customer service related to all of their front-facing people that worked in the bars and in the hotels and whatever. So that was a great contract to have, really interesting.
Yeah, brilliant. And then you decided to exit the business. Were you approached then, or did you go looking for someone to buy the business, or how did that happen?
I actually sold my business, my half of the business, to my co-founder.
Oh, okay.
And he then subsequently, after I did 8 years in the business, and then he did another 8 probably after that, and then he sold it to he actually sold it to a California private equity house, bought Learning Pool. Jeez. But it continues. It goes on.
Yeah, it goes on. Yeah, it's still thriving now. I think it's 26 million users. Is there? Is that right? Am I right?
I wouldn't be surprised there was a million users at the point where I exited the business. Okay. So I mean, it was a great business and a great team. Yeah.
And did you just decide that you were kind of done with this business? Like, did you get bored, or did your partner just want to kind of take the reins, or?
It is possible to get bored with your own business, actually.
Yeah.
You know, people often say, "Oh, you must really miss." After you sell, people often say to you, "Oh, you must really miss whatever your business is." You know, and you always just like politely smile and say, "Oh, yeah," but in reality,
I've done that place.
You're probably quite glad, you know. Yeah. I just wanted to. The company had grown at the point where I left. There were 100 people in the team.
Okay.
It was profitable business. I wouldn't say that I was bored with it, but I really wanted to get back into earlier startups. Yeah. That's the bit that I enjoy. I like early stage startups when it's a bit chaotic.
Okay. You like the madness.
I like the madness, yeah.
During your time with Learning Pool, how many people did you guys hire, like, over a period of the kind of 8 years you were there?
Oh, thousands of people.
Thousands. Okay, so kind of conveyor belt.
I would say that I've interviewed thousands of people in my life.
Okay. What do you
look? It's the hardest bit of the business.
Is,
recruiting the team, finding the right people that have the right chemistry in the team to work together, and keeping people motivated so that they really want to come to work in the morning. I mean, that's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, and keeping the talent acquisition pool or machine turning as the sales are kind of increasing is important as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's the chief exec's job to recruit.
Okay.
I think it's really important, and it is the purpose of going. That's the reason that you go to so many networking events and things like that, because you're out meeting people and.
Yeah. When you're hiring for someone to like join your team or join one of your companies, what's the key character trait that you would typically look for? Like, is it culture fit? Is it skills? Is it a mix of both? Or depends on the job?
I think depending on the job role, there will be a certain amount of skills that people have. Like everybody these days, you would expect them to be digitally savvy and whatever. But I always look for people. I look for people that are problem solvers. Okay. And that sometimes is difficult to. Yeah. It's difficult to work that out when you're interviewing somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
And I look for people that have like a flexible approach to things, because I think that's also. And I also look for people that have got big networks themselves. Yeah. And I look for people that. I suppose because when people are graduates, and you'll know this from your own job as well, Connor, when people are new graduates, there's not an awful lot of difference between them, because they've got a degree, so has everybody else. So you have to, when you're starting out, you have to really think about ways in which you can differentiate yourself from other people when you start going to interview. So if I had to choose between two candidates and say one of them wrote a blog and the other one didn't, I would probably take the one that writes the blog.
Just purely on the fact that
just because they
done something extra.
They're creating something, they're expressing themselves, and it's great skills. People that can write well is always useful in a business. People that can present. Yeah. because modern businesses, you know, everybody's selling the whole time, aren't they, really?
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, even like the tech guys are salespeople as well for the business, like, and they be dealing with the customers. You have to make sure that they're able to talk. Because sometimes you find like some tech guys, not all, or some are quite introverted, and it's hard to kind of pull that out of them. And get it across the line that they can do the job, as well as kind of represent themselves quite well. But did you have any like killer questions that if someone couldn't answer a particular question that you kind of said no, or it would turn you off them, or?
I once interviewed somebody for a job. It was a young person.
Okay.
And we had a formal interview, and we had pretty much decided that we were going to offer this person a job.
Yeah.
And we left as we were leaving the building. He walked down the stairs, and when he got to the bottom of the stairs, our post had arrived through the letterbox, and it was on the floor. And I thought to myself, if he picks the post up and gives it to me, I'm definitely going to offer him the job. And instead, he stood on top of it and shook my hand. He actually stood on my mail. And we didn't give him the job.
Yeah, okay.
Because that told me something about his attitude.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that he went away thinking that the interview had gone really well. I'm sure he was really shocked when he didn't get the job. But,
yeah.
You know, so sometimes it's just
nerves definitely play
kind of like you when you interview people, you are watching to see what else you can find out about them that isn't revealed through the questions.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not even the conversation that happens in the interview; it's the conversation that happens at the reception door when you first walk in.
100%. So you know, whoever is in the room when they're waiting.
Yeah.
You always say to them afterwards, well, what was the person like? Did they chat with you? Were they friendly? Blah blah blah. So you know, you are being. And I would look at people's online presence.
Okay, yeah.
You know, because that also tells you a lot.
Yeah. Would you ever hire someone without a CV? Or is the CV even important to you? I know we're kind of...
I think that interviews are a bit of a dark art.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that you have to be really paying attention because you could miss good people.
Yeah.
You know, the process itself works well for some people, and like you'll know this as well, some people interview like a dream. When they start work, they're terrible.
Yeah.
And other people aren't as polished at interviews, but they're the people that you probably really want.
Yeah. I always say, like, you never actually know how good someone's going to be until the day they start.
Yeah.
But you can, it's not, like I say all the time, it's not the person that's best for the job that gets the job, it's sometimes the person that's best prepared gets the job and interviews really well, and that can sometimes come with interviewing like 10 or 15 times with 10 or 15 different companies and looking back at what you did wrong and what you done right and kind of changing your style, and that can kind of get over the line, and then, you know, 6 months later you're getting a call to say, you know, this person isn't working out.
Yeah.
It can happen, but yeah, it's good to kind of see. But you're involved now as well on the, like, interviewing for you're an investor.
Yeah.
Angel Investor 2023 was it? And of the year.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, obviously you're an investor, but how do you become like Angel Investor of the Year? Like, is it all like, you know, profit? Is it the amount of companies that you invested in? Is it the amount of founders that you've helped? Or
yeah, I mean, I think that I was UK Business Angel of the Year last year, as you say. So the UK Business Angels Association its purpose is to promote angel investment as an asset class.
Yeah.
So I think probably what they were looking for was somebody that invests themselves but also promotes parts of the ecosystem. So I do a lot of work with startups.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work with women founders and other underserved parts of society, I guess. You know?
Okay.
So as you will know, most entrepreneurs are white men.
Yeah.
You know? So it's more difficult. It's more difficult to raise investment if you're a woman.
Yeah.
And if you're a woman founding team, you know that only 2% of venture capital goes to women founders.
Okay.
The rest of it is sucked up by the men. So it's harder.
Yeah.
So I guess I always, you know, we didn't raise early investment at Learning Pool because we couldn't. We pitched to a lot of investors and people just wouldn't invest in our business. Right. So we bootstrapped in the end.
Oh, okay. And why do you think that is? Like, do you think that's because you guys it was a gender thing, like, you know, going back a while, or do you think it was experience, like is it a case like that you're a woman, you're not getting investment, or is it a case that you didn't have the experience?
I think...
Or the confidence even.
You know, it is nearly 20 years ago, and I think Northern Ireland at that time had very traditional approach to investing. So a lot of investors that we talked to were property investors.
Oh, okay.
And so they didn't really understand a digital business. You know, so we just didn't find people that were a good match for us.
Yeah, because it would have been around the .com boom, would it be, when you kind of took off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what I find, like our business, we place more women into higher paying jobs than men. Now, overall, we place more men. But what I find is that, like, even we had another woman on the podcast. She's like the head of finance in a couple of different companies, or has been, and she was asked to take a job. She didn't apply for the job. She just maybe didn't have the confidence or whatever. And what I find is that female, you know, we're seeing more females graduate college as well than men at the moment, but they don't put themselves forward. Like, and I think someone needs to kind of give them a little push or a jolt and believe in themselves. But then there's also the pull factor to the family home if they have kids or whatever, and wanting to be the mammy as well. Yeah. So it plays a massive part. But what more do you think we could do to encourage more like females to kind of take the higher positions, or even kind of explore entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I do think it is about confidence.
Yeah.
So, and everybody knows this, that if a woman looks at a job description and she can do 70% of it, she thinks about the 30% that she can't do. Whereas a man just doesn't, you know, I mean, this is a generalisation, but if a man can do 70%, they'll always put themselves forward, because they'll just think, oh, I can just wing it for the rest of that, you know, the rest of that stuff. So it is about confidence. Something that I did a couple of years ago is because I'm an entrepreneur in residence at the University of Oxford.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is a pro bono thing. It's a voluntary role.
Yeah.
And I went into my local school in Derry. It was during Global Entrepreneurship Week. Happens every November, and it's a way of schools getting young people interested in perhaps starting a business or whatever. Because university, it's not the only path. So I was in there chatting to the school students, and I just happened to say, as I was leaving, the principal said to me, you know, we saw this school in London that have got an entrepreneur in residence, but we don't think anybody in Northern Ireland's ever done this. So I went home that night and I thought, you know, I'm an entrepreneur in residence at University of Oxford. They probably don't even really need somebody like me, but the school gives you a chance to really make an impact. So I rang her the next day and said, okay, should we try and figure out how we can do this? So for the next 2 years, I went into the school 1 day a month, and along with the head of business studies, I used to run classes around entrepreneurship for about 100 students that were interested. So we did the same topic 4 times in the day, but we changed the tone of it depending on the age of the students. So, you know, if you're teaching them about marketing or whatever, you would do something slightly different for the 12-year-olds than what you would do for the ones that are 18.
Okay, so a good bit of effort went into it. And was the response good, or like? Yeah.
And I mean, the BBC came and did a little video. It was the day that we were doing the future of work. So what I had asked the students to do was, they were sitting in 4s at their tables, and I'd given them a big sheet of paper, and I'd asked them to write down on one side of the sheet what they thought were the 10 highest paying jobs out there and what they thought were the 10 lowest paying jobs. So there's a bit of sensitivity around that, because the kids will see their local taxi driver or hairdresser or whatever, and they'll think that person's really doing well, you know. So there was a little bit of sensitivity around getting to a list. But when we had the list done, we put it up on the whiteboard, and then what we did was we went through all the jobs that were there, and we crossed off everything that we thought was going to get replaced by robots or by machine learning or by artificial intelligence. And most of the jobs were crossed off. And then the kids would then say,
so then what are we supposed to do?
Like, I'm going to be leaving university in 7 years' time. What's work going to look like by then? So they really started thinking about the skills that they need to have that aren't going to get replaced by AI.
Yeah. Did you make any investments while you were in the school? I have another question for you, but did you make any investments while you were in the school? Did anyone come up with any stellar ideas, or did they get the pitch?
So we used to do pitches and get them to think about it, and so they came up with like crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But kids are really creative. Like you know, they one day, one of them come up with an idea. Like they do a lot of, because it was a girls' school as well.
Yeah.
They do a lot of. They're interested in fashion and beauty, and they do a lot of. You know, somebody had an idea for an app to help you choose what to wear to work in the morning, things like that. So that you don't have to actually think about it yourself. And so they would come up with all sorts of crazy schemes, But no, none of them.
No, made it true.
You know, you can. I would say to them, you can start a business when you're at school.
Yeah, definitely.
So a few of them had some little side projects on the go, a little bit of a side hustle that they were doing. Make some money. It's great.
Yeah. What would you say now, right, with like AI and the development and automation, everything else, and machine learning? What do you think are like the core skills that people need to develop at like a young age in order to excel later on and kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is about creativity and problem solving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can imagine a world where a lot of the jobs that young people think about as being, you know, accountants, lawyers, teachers, or whatever. A lot of that stuff could really change over the next few years.
Yeah, especially with like ChatGPT or whatever, like the legal questions are just answered there and then. Yeah. And it's all precedent as well, right? Yeah. But then... So
it's an interesting time.
Yeah. And going back to your early days, did you have like a career guidance counsellor or someone offering like a similar kind of service in your school? I know, because you went through the UK educational system, like, so it'd be different to the Republic.
No, there was careers guidance, but it was very formulaic, you know. Yeah. They told you to go and get a job in the bank or go and be a nurse. Yeah. No, it's very
kind of set. Take one of these 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're.
I mean, do you think that young people really think about what it is that they want to do later, or do they just fall into something?
I think they fall into it, like, to be honest. Well, from what I see anyway in my industry and from friends as well, like, they just kind of like, don't say what their jobs are, but they just kind of fall into these jobs and they get stuck and they get bills and they get stuck, right? So they're just every day same thing. I've got friends that have businesses though as well and like doing really well. Like they left school at 16, done trades and done really well, and they have businesses. They're doing okay. You know, they're not making millions, but they're not struggling either, so they're doing okay. And then I've got other friends that are just stuck and they have that fear of taking the jump to do something different, because that fear can kind of wrap you up as well and get a hold of you. And
you know what?
The what ifs.
Leap in a net will form.
Yeah.
You have to make some brave decisions, and if you are really unhappy in your job, you should definitely take steps to do something about that.
Yeah.
Because you spend a long time at work.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like, I come from a military background. I was just done with the place. Loved it. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. But I was just done. I actually took a job. It's only nearly 40,000 euros a year. It was like 38. But I dropped to 22,500 a year. But I had a side hustle at the weekend, so I kind of helped kind of keep the wages up. But I was just done 22,500 a year. But it's kind of like worked out. I just had to take a few steps back to take a few leaps forward. So it can definitely work, but you just have to be willing to take the jump, is what I would say. But you're an investor, okay? What do you look for when you're investing in someone? Like, is it the person? Is it the idea? Is it both?
So I invest mainly in tech businesses.
Okay. Is it all tech and all women?
No.
Okay.
It's about 60% of my investments are women.
Okay.
And probably about 60% are tech. There are some products and stuff in there in the mix. I have about 30 investments in my portfolio.
Okay.
So I suppose I look for 3 things. I look for something I invest in projects that I think are tech for good.
Yeah.
So something that's going to make the world a better place is important to me. I also, I kind of look for businesses where my experience and my network is going to add value to them.
Yeah.
And I invest early stage at the riskiest end of the spectrum. That is it's the riskiest part. So if you're starting a business, you have to get through the first 2 years is the killer. And a lot of businesses just don't make it. The drop off in terms of startups is savage. It really is. But if you make it through those first 2 years, you've got a chance that you can go on to make some, grow a business that's going to be valuable.
What kind of, is it at that 2 year mark you invest, or is it before seed?
I invest seed, pre-seed. Yeah. Jeez. So it's the most fun you can have. I mean,
anything's possible, I suppose, at that
stage. It gives you, I always say that angel investing gives you all the thrills and spills of being in a startup without the sleepless nights, because it's not your business really, So for me, it doesn't. Yeah. Of course, I want them to do well, and I want my investment to be worth more money than it starts off being. But that's not the end goal for me. That's not the only thing that matters, So I mean, for people that it's always about the team and the person.
Yeah. Always
about the team and
then the idea.
Because most businesses end up doing something completely different from what they thought they would be doing.
Yeah.
So the business, it's called a pivot. Startup businesses nearly always pivot. Yeah. So what they're doing changes. Yeah. So it's only ever about the team for me.
Yeah. Is that something that you would influence, at that stage, once you're kind of in at seed, you would influence a pivot if you didn't think it was going to work, or would you be hard on the pivot, or would you kind of leave it up to the founder?
I would expect that the business is going to pivot. Okay. And I would just be there for the founder when they need some advice, I suppose, about when they come to you with it. Yeah, that's right. I would try and help them think it through and move it forward.
When someone's looking for an investment, what's the process they would have to go through to kind of get in touch with an angel investor or someone like yourself, or if not you?
Most of the investment, because I work in the startup ecosystem, so I see a lot. I do see a lot of startups pitching, and I see a lot of I go to a lot of pitch events. Yeah. But I would say most of the businesses that I've invested in have probably come to me through somebody else that's recommended them. Okay. So, never underestimate the power of building your network. And it's something that people should start early and do, in a purposeful way, I think.
And is that through an accelerator program they would come to you, or is that just kind of word of mouth, they've advertised on the event?
At AwakenHub, we run an accelerator. It's called She Generate. Okay. And so already something like 120 people have completed. We've been running it for 3 years. 120 people have completed it. Applications are open at the moment, and the next cohort will start in the autumn at some point. I think it's the end of October or early November. We'll start with the next batch. Yeah. So there's no shortage of people in Ireland starting businesses.
No, and it's quite entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think that's there's obviously a war on talent, right, as well, and people are fighting for the best people. Do you think that's a good thing that we have so many businesses kind of looking to start, or do you think it's a bad thing, or do you think it's a mix?
So I think in Ireland it's great for the economy that we've got so many large American tech businesses here.
Yeah, definitely.
But it means that if you're running a startup, it's very difficult to compete with the likes of Google and Apple and whatever in terms of what they pay. Yeah. So it's tricky sometimes getting good tech people because they can earn so much money working for big US multinationals.
Is that what most of the investment money would go on, would be the talent or the product?
Yeah. Because sometimes in a tech business it would probably be 90% of what you spend would be on your team.
Yeah, it's massive, the overhead. So once you've you've invested in a company and you guys need to hire people for the team, that's where the majority of the money is going. Do you get involved at that stage of who they bring into the team, or do you kind of leave it to the founder?
So I would certainly spend a lot of time with the founder, making sure that they understand how important it is to create a culture from early doors. That it's going to be so that you're building a business where people really want to come to work, because the likelihood is, and you'll know this from your own work, the likelihood is that people these days don't really work it's not really 9 to 5 like it used to be.
Oh.
You know, it can be, you sort of like the founder's likely to work 7 days a week, and they're likely to want to get hold of people in the evenings and whatever like that. So I think for a founder, you've got to appreciate that people in your team are not you.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not going to want to work 80 or 100 hours a week. But so you have to cut them a bit of slack.
Okay.
If you want them to do things for you, you've got to make sure that you offer them a working environment that's flexible around what they need to do as well.
Yeah.
Like I would never, if people need to go somewhere or have got an appointment or need to take time off or something, I would always be really open to that, because there'll come a day when I need somebody to do something extra.
Okay.
You know, and I think if you're in credit because you've been good to people, they're more likely to want to help you out when you need it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. How do you drive the culture though at the early stages? Like, is it just bringing in the right people, or is it like the office? Is it the atmosphere? You know, is it the work the person's going to be doing, having clear?
Yeah, I think it's your job to make sure that people have got rewarding work to do, that they're paid properly for what they do, and that they can see. And it's hard in a small business because there might not be a career path for people.
Yeah, or
You
a
know,
visible one.
when the
Anyway.
business is really small, there might not be. It might not be obvious to somebody where they're going to move on to next. And at Learning Pool, many of the people that joined us in the early days, quite a lot of them are actually still work for the company.
Okay, so
all this time later, but they're not doing the jobs that they started.
No.
You know, because they would be people that are now senior people in a business like Learning Pool that have done maybe 5 or 6 different jobs there.
Yeah.
On the way. You know, because I think that's in a startup you can do anything.
Yeah.
So if you work in a startup and you see an opportunity and you go to your manager and say, like, can I do this? The likelihood is that they're always going to say yes to you, because there's always more to do, isn't there?
Yeah, there's way more exposure at the lower end. Like, I always get people coming to me saying, oh, I want to work for a big multinational, and I kind of feel like that's like one man, one job essentially, or one woman, one job. Whereas if you get in at the early stages, like into like startups, like you get like shares in the business, and you can get exposure across multiple fields. Yeah. And even if you don't stay with the company, you can still help you move to the next company. Yeah. But do you find it takes long for a business like at the early stages to kind of to grow, or is that like a 5-year, 10-year journey before they kind of like overnight success takes 10 years kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that many overnight successes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is a bit of a, people always think about Facebook.
Yeah.
And that pretty much was an overnight success, but my God, is that rare, you know? Most of the time it is just chipping away and solidly building. I mean, it's really important if you are starting out with your business that you've got a plan that's got milestones written down.
Okay.
Because the worst thing that happens is that you don't have a plan, you don't have milestones, and then you constantly reinvent reasons why things didn't happen in your own head.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if it's written down, you can't argue with it, because you said you were going to make X amount of sales by December the 31st, and either you have or you haven't. Yeah. So it's good to keep you on track as well. Yeah. You know?
Have you lost much money in investing in tech companies or seed?
Oh, you know, it's always.
Or are you at like a net positive?
I'm ahead at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
So I hope it stays. Two of the businesses, you know, when you invest, you can expect that your money's going to be. Yeah. You're not going to get it back next week.
Okay.
You know, so one of my investments, it was 4 years and 3 months between me investing and the company getting bought.
Okay.
That's actually pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know, so you could expect, I think, that if you're investing, you're probably not going to see your money back for maybe 6-7 years.
Okay.
And sometimes you never get it back because the company goes under.
So
I think out of mine, maybe 3 of them have died.
Okay, that's not too bad.
3 have gone, 2 have exited, and there's a couple more that I think might sell in the next year or 2. And you know, so it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you manage that gamble or that risk? Like, how do you, like, does it bother you now? Like you're kind of a seasoned professional at this stage, but did it bother you in the early days when you first started your investment journey?
No, because you see, entrepreneurs are pretty. They're at the risky end of the spectrum anyway, on the risk averseness, you know. So I think one of the qualities of an entrepreneur is your ability to compartmentalize things.
Yeah.
So, you make a decision, and whether it's right or wrong, you've made a decision, and that's it. You just move on, and you put that bit of information. Like we borrowed we funded our business in the early days. Like I said to you, we didn't raise investment. We did have a bank loan, and it required us to sign over our houses, which is a big deal.
Yeah, massive.
So, particularly if maybe your partner isn't as has got a different attitude to risk maybe than what you have. So that's always a bit of a tricky one to manage. Yeah.
You didn't obviously have to move out of your house. You just kind of, if the business went bad or the loan went bad, the house was used as collateral.
The bank would have your house as collateral. Yeah.
Jeez. Did you do that just once, or did you do it a couple of times?
I've only done that once. Okay.
Would you do it again?
I would if I was as confident that the business was going to be a success.
Okay.
But I'm unlikely to do it again because.
Yeah. Even though, and it's not you at the helm anymore, essentially.
No. So that's what I said about the
back on another horse.
You have the thrills and the spills, but you don't have the sleepless nights and the worry.
Definitely. And if someone wants to be like an investor, or like someone had aspirations to become an investor, or someone that's maybe exiting wants to kind of stay in the investment ecosystem, how would they get involved, like in that, or how would you become an investor or an angel investor?
We run a syndicate here in Ireland. It's called Awaken Angels, and it's open to. We're really focused on bringing more women in as angel investors because Ireland's quite behind in terms of the number of women that are angels. But men and women can join the syndicate, and you can start investing from €2,000.
Oh, okay. So you don't need to be like a high net worth individual.
You don't need to be a millionaire or a high net worth. No, you can start investing, and like a lot of people do crowdfunding these days as well. Like they start and they build out their portfolios in terms of like quite small investments, but so it's good fun, and
you enjoy it.
You might hit big.
It's like playing the lottery. Expensive lottery tickets though.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's more of a sure thing, isn't it, than anything else. And going through, right, you're a mentor now, but did you have any mentors going through your journey?
So I think everybody is always able to mentor somebody else as well as having. So you should always have a mentor, but you should also be a mentor as well for people that are more junior than you or people that are just starting out.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important to have a mentor? And do you think like you should pay to have a mentor, or is it like a voluntary service?
Well, I think that it should be voluntary. I think that people do you a lot of favours when you're starting a business.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you should pay it forward and you should pay it back.
Yeah, that's right.
We have this thing we say, givers gain.
Givers gain. That's are you part of the BNI? Are you? No, the network. There's a networking franchise. They operate all over Ireland or all over the Republic anyway. I think they're a UK company actually, but there's a BNI and they have givers gain as their slogan.
Yeah, so it's great. I really believe in karma, and I think that if you should do some stuff for free because it's the right thing to do. Yeah,
it's fair. And AwakenHub then, this is your kind of social enterprise you're co-founded with 3 other females?
Yeah, 3, there's 4 of us,
Yeah. What is the purpose of the AwakenHub, or what do you guys do, and what do you guys do?
It's a community for women founders.
Okay. And
easy as that, simple as that. So it's just, I think when people are starting out in business, it's really helpful if they've got other people that are in the same situation as they are.
Yeah.
Just for support and to ask questions to, and so if you're in a community of other people, there's always, whatever your question, there's always going to be somebody else that's had the same thing happen before and can advise you or can put you in touch with somebody and whatever. It can be a bit lonely.
It's definitely lonely at the top,
If you start a business by yourself, it's a lonely old journey because, you don't want, your partner doesn't really want to know the ins and outs of everything that you're doing in your business.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they'll give you support and they'll listen to a bit of it, but they don't want to have the nitty-gritty detail delivered to them at the tea table every night, and so you do need other people that you can bounce ideas off, or that you can that understand that are able to understand the problems that you've got and help you with them.
Yeah, I suppose problem shares, problem halved. And
yeah, so 3,000 women so far have joined.
3,000, okay.
Yeah.
And is it a WhatsApp community? Do you guys have different meetups in different locations?
We just have we have a little community platform that people sign up for, and they can post questions and share news and things like that. Yeah.
What was the purpose of it? Was this your idea, or were you just kind of chatting and you decided to kind of make it happen?
Do you know, it's one of the things that came out of COVID. Do you remember that first lockdown?
Yeah.
Just a lot of women were contacting us because they were really struggling with their business. Like if you think about sorts of jobs that people were doing before COVID, if you didn't have a website or if you didn't have an online presence, which a lot of people seem to not have had.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have any way of making sales, so their business was kind of like gone overnight, you know?
Okay.
So we actually started out by having monthly Zoom calls.
Zoom calls, okay.
And it just snowballed on from there, because then the people that joined the Zoom call said, we'd actually really like to know who everybody else is. And so we just started like that. And then we started the Angel Syndicate is a year old this week.
Okay.
So far 80 investors have joined. And we've invested in 2 companies so far, and we've got 5 more that are in the due diligence stage.
Brilliant. So. And is it all tech, or is it different, different industries? Or?
I suppose we say that we're sector agnostic.
Yeah.
So all sorts of people have been through our accelerator.
Yeah.
You know, people making candles, right through to people that are discovering new drugs, and everything in between. So it really is the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the SaaS business, the e-commerce platform, etc., etc. But businesses that are raising investment are more likely to be tech businesses.
Mm. Do you think that will come to a head soon, like tech businesses, or do you think it will continue to thrive with the advancement and like AI and things like that?
I think it will just continue on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's changing quick.
Yeah, it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
It's just technology just breeds technology. It's
because technology's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Remember if you think back sort of 20 years ago, there were sort of non-tech careers and tech careers.
Yeah.
Now everything's tech.
Tech, yeah. But did you have any kind of tech experience other than because you're more on the number side of things? Did you have any tech, or are you tech savvy?
No.
Can you write program?
No, I can't write code. No.
No. How did you find that running a tech business? Was it difficult, or?
I don't think.
Did you have a good CTO?
Know.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah, the CTOs are the fundamental. Yeah. Is the fundamental role in a tech business, and my God, are they difficult to find? You know,
good one,
a good CTO is difficult to find, and we at Learning Pool we burned through quite a number of them. You know, until we found the person that ended up being the right person that stayed. Yeah. But it's a difficult job to recruit for.
Yeah. And
so much is relying upon the CTO.
Yeah, it's kind of all on them, and you don't know how to fix the problems. You're kind of ringing them all hours saying the system's broke, you want to fix it. But yeah, okay. And now, right, if I suppose outside of work, right, do you believe does in work-life balance, or is there a balance, or can there be a balance when you're an entrepreneur?
I work 7 days a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Always on.
Yeah.
So there are other people that don't that don't do that.
Yeah. So you don't know people that don't do that?
No, there are obviously there are people that don't do that.
Yeah.
But I would say that there is a lot of people that do.
Okay. What keeps it keeps the fire lit?
They call it feeding the rat.
Yeah. Is it insecurities
you can't not do it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Is it is it insecurities? Is it the financial side of it? Is it the tech for good, helping society, or helping other female entrepreneurs? Is it passion, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you just do find you discover as you go along what your mission in life is. You know? And my mission in life is to help more women start businesses. You know, that's what I've decided to do, and so that's what I will do. You know?
Okay. Yeah. Well, power to you. If I suppose, if someone wanted to kind of reach out to you, get involved in the AwakenHub, maybe look at for investment, is there a portal or somewhere they can contact you if they're interested?
Yeah. I mean, hello@awakenhub.com.
hello@awakenhub.com.
That'll get to me.
Okay.
And we're always looking for people to participate in the programs, investors to join the syndicate, sponsors.
Is the syndicate open to male investors?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
okay.
It is,
so it's not just female investors.
Out of the 80 that we have, I think maybe 15 are men and the rest are women.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been an exciting 12 months.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the plans now for the next 12? Or do you have any? Just see how it goes.
We're just going to carry on and see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully more people will join, and we're really excited that we have 5 businesses that are going through due diligence at the moment, and just seeing those businesses raise money and grow is great.
Yeah, it's
really exciting.
It's fantastic. Hope to be in your shoes someday. But do you think you'll stop investing, or do you think you'll keep going?
I think I will stop probably.
Yeah? Okay, it's
I
on the
think I
cards.
will at some point just call it a day.
Yeah. You'll probably try stopping, then you'll be on the phone doing something else.
Yeah.
But will you stay in Ireland and retire in Ireland, or will you move somewhere sunny?
I have my sights set on California probably.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I used to work there because I used to be a .commer. So we have a place there, and
nice.
We probably will
make the move at some stage.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Do you have anything else, or are you happy enough? No?
That's great.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Thanks very much.